everybody. It's your girl, PJamma, PJamma Life. And today we are going to talk about, each week now I've been saying this might be the best episode. Now, this week 5, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This might be the best episode. The episode is called little technical difficulty there. This episode is called Truth. And boy, did they drop some truth. And then as well, we're going to talk about the screenplay nominations for the Oscars after we finish talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So today, I thought the subject was a little heavy. So why don't we just show the clip about the episode?
Lamar. It wasn't me.
You gotta give me the shield, man.
We could have been a team. Why are you making me do this? Why are you making me do this? I am Captain America.
Matthias. Mama Dunya. Nico. How many times do we have to pay with our lives just to be citizens of this goddamn planet?
I need to understand. What went wrong?
I used to be like you. Until I opened my eyes. Until I saw men in the red tails fight for this country. Only to come home to find crosses burned on their lawn.
You could have been the next.
The next? What? Huh?
Huh?
Fight out there, and then there's our fight here. So you really gonna let Isaiah Bradley get in your head? You gonna let him decide what you do next?
Isaiah's been to hell and back. If I was in his shoes, I'd probably feel the exact same way. But what would be the point of all the pain and sacrifice if I wasn't willing to stand up and keep fighting?
Oh, man. This looks good. I got so excited. We didn't take time to introduce you two. So go ahead and introduce yourselves because we got a whole lot to talk about today. Why don't we start off with our Star Wars guru, professor of all things Star Wars. David, say hey to the people.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you on this wonderful Saturday night to talk about this exciting new episode. Great to be with you, not John and PJamma Life. Fantastic. Thank you all for being here. I'm pumped to talk about this episode and, of course, some of these great Oscar nominees.
All right. And our maestro of Marvel, the man of Marvel, who's definitely not John Walker. Matt, say hey to the people.
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here. This is a great episode. I can't wait to talk about it.
I know. Let's dive in. David, why don't you tell us what you thought?
Well, this was a very powerful one. And, you kind of have to watch it a couple of times to let it really soak in and appreciate. But again, we see the legacy here, the plight of the veteran and how they are treated when they come home. They are trained to fight, to kill, to defend this country, and not justifying bad behavior, but at a point, if it's bad PR or something goes wrong, they're dismissed. We see that great comparisons here. Compare, contrast Isaiah Bradley during the Korean War, serving as Captain America, wanted to do the right thing, defended, went out and tried to rescue his comrades, imprisoned, treated horribly for that, human subject research issues. You've got John Walker, Congressional Medal of Honor winner, obviously terrible, horrible scene that we saw, forced out of the service with an other than honorable. For those of you who are not military people, that's a pretty big deal. And no benefits after a career in the service. So a big hit to him and his family. As horrible a road as he's going down, my heart broke when they said that, because growing up, Fort Knox, military, it's like, wow. And here you see Sam, kind of this guy, he's being able, his compassion, his empathy, he can see where people are coming from. The nobility of Steve Rogers, that's what he shared. That was kind of something forged in their friendship. It's kind of the things that brought them together. An amazing episode. And you've got to see our villainous super soldier too, who's about to break another threshold, it looks like, and commit a serious act of treason based on the way things are going. This is intense.
Yeah.
Intense episode.
Yeah. Pat, what you think? And give us some background from the comics.
Well, John Walker does not have a good road ahead of him if it goes like that. I mean, basically, you saw that even in there. Okay, I got a little bit of an aside. I don't know if any of you out there watching this have not watched the episode, you probably turn off. We're going to talk about spoilers. We always do. I mean, we're assuming you watch this when you get here. Okay, the post-credit scene where they got John Walker. Okay, for those of you that don't know me personally, you know that I actually am a sheet metal instructor. I know how to. I'm a certified welder, and I do all this other stuff. That was some janky welding that guy was doing. Ugly. On 10 different levels. I mean, I get it. They want to make him look like he's a real good. Terrible. They're gonna hit that one time, it's gonna break. I can tell you. Wakanda's gonna mess that all kinds up. Anyway, I just saw that, and it was very, very painful to watch. Very painful for me to watch that. I was like, oh my god, really? MIG welding this and putting big old dog turd welds on it? Oh my god.
Oh
terrible.
my gosh.
Okay, now that that's off my chest. Okay. Yeah, that was really bugging. But
that's what was, the worst part of the episode.
Really cool. Well, just watching the episode again, Okay, yeah. The first fight scene, badass. I'm telling you what. And that was I was thinking, okay, Bucky, and Captain America fought Iron Man to a standstill and actually beat Iron Man. So I'm thinking Bucky and, the Falcon can definitely take this idiot, who's all in motion and has to keep, there's a, I'm going to kind of mix some, some fandoms here. I don't know if any of y'all watch Game of Thrones. There's a scene in there when Tywin Lannister tells Joffrey, if you have to keep telling everyone you're the king, you're not the king. If you have to keep telling everyone you're Captain America, you're not Captain America. Right. I mean, because that was his thing all the time. I'm Captain America. I'm Captain America. No, you're not. No, you're not.
I'm Captain America.
Yeah, that was a 4-year-old throwing a tantrum because they didn't get their toy at the store.
Yeah.
So he's been put in a bad position, yes. And then, like you say, you totally get everything stripped away for doing basically what they told him to do and what they've trained him and prepared his whole life to make him to do. Granted, even soldiers in war zones are not allowed to just
murder.
Summary execution, Right. He was over the line, clearly over the line. And, to see all that going on, it was really good. And it is interesting to see the Falcons training montage, midway through, where here he is, Sam, who is unenhanced, like, Steve was, like, John Walker is. He's not enhanced, but he's holding his own. He's jumping around, flipping that shield like he's Captain America. So I'm really interested to see what was in the case, and I'm sure it isn't anything like Pulp Fiction. But it would have been great if he'd opened up. There'd been like a golden glow.
It had a glow.
That would have been the most meta thing ever.
Oh my goodness!
But no, I mean, and the other big important thing that you kind of saw was the surprise cameo.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a character. I have a feeling that might be your next big bad one.
Did you notice something about her?
Well, besides being Julia Louis-Dreyfus,
No,
I know. Well, I know who she's going to. I suspect I know who she's going to be.
Yeah.
She's
no.
You know.
No, I was thinking of something more simple, but
Hey,
it's a carryover from WandaVision. She had a purple stripe in her hair. And what have we learned about purple in Marvel? Bad guy.
Yeah. I knew she was a bad guy. You knew she was a bad guy. I mean,
bad guy.
She's sitting here recruiting John Walker after he just has been, basically hung out to dry publicly. Oh yeah, you're really valuable to us. You have lots of value to us, that kind of thing. Yeah, I know who she is. I suspect I know who she is. She's going to be another big player coming up. There's just, they've only got one more episode, and the thing that I'm really interested in finding out is how they're going to tie it. There's a lot of loose ends still going on, guys.
Yeah, I know.
The power broker. I mean, was she the power broker? Maybe not. You don't know.
Okay. I got lots of Easter eggs that might shed some light on it.
Well, you tell us your stuff. I'll talk about it.
Okay. So first, I'll talk about the importance of this episode in the story of truth. And it's purposely titled that because, as we talked about earlier, this really talks about the story of Isaiah Bradley in the comic by Robert Morales, Truth. If you have not had a chance to read it, please read it. It is one of the best of Marvel of all time. Daring, poignant, heartbreaking, tells the story of the truth of what happens in a Marvel comic form. Beautiful story. So, and I think when I talk to friends about it talks about an important message for Black folks too, is that this duality of Black people in America and wanting us to be a part of America, but not wanting us to be a part of America. So what Isaiah Bradley was saying resonated, I'm sure, with a lot of people of, why would you do this? You think I'm wrong because of this shield? And then he said, which was a devastating line, no self-respecting Black man would take up this shield. And I was just, my heart just broke, because you can completely understand after what they had done to him and what he'd been through, why he would say something like that. And for many of us out here today, especially given the events that are going on, you have a complicated relationship with America right now. So this episode, I think, was beautifully written. I mean, so many layers of the truth that came at you. Yeah. It was one of the best written pieces of Marvel, I think, in the whole universe. And I think Marvel is saying things that are not said. And thank goodness they've got the power and the money to be able to do that. I mean, really. And the John Walker character is also super interesting because as I look at him, he, unlike Steve, he's in it for pride, for the title, but he's not in it necessarily, especially after taking the serum, because remember, the serum just makes you more of who you are. And so now you can see this is who he is. It's just magnified. And what was really, I was really like, man, F this dude. When he went to the family and lied, even in that moment, he couldn't do the right thing. And so his story, I'm like, ugh, he's well on his way to becoming the U.S. agent, I think. But part of me was thinking, this guy's not that bright. How is he going to be an intelligence person? I can't see it, but I'm sure he's going to go out, maybe be a part of a dark force. Like I heard the Contessa was compared to DC's universe, Amanda Waller. And so she's kind of this super spy. But one of the Easter eggs I read is that she's Nick Fury's lover. So I was like, oh, two spy masters together. I was like, oh, I don't know what that's like. But I thought that was interesting. And of course, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, umpteen time Emmy winner. I'm sure she's going to be in this quite a bit. And I read that she is scheduled to be in the Black Widow movie. So, because her storyline is that she was actually a Russian double agent. So it'll be interesting to see how they include her. I think she is going to have a big future in the MCU. But some of the Easter eggs, there were a couple. I was like, oh, this show is so fantastic. And the scene of the fight scene, oh no, I think I froze for a second. I'll just keep talking. It'll come back.
We can still hear you.
Okay, so the fight scene also mirrored the fight scene with Captain America, Iron Man, and Bucky. Yep. And so that was pretty cool. The Torres apparently, and Pat, you probably know this, Torres has a future. And I thought that was pretty cool that Torres in the comics eventually became Falcon. And so I thought that was a nice little aside to have him there. And now, one that I just love, the Easter egg that I love, was that so Rian Johnson, you know who he is, right, David? Rian Johnson of Star Wars said that Apple doesn't allow their iPhones to be used by villains in movies or TV. And so that means that Sharon Carter was using an Android phone. So, ergo, Sharon Carter is the power broker. That's what I'm coming up with. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I just thought that was cool. But also I thought it was really a nice callback to Black history that when Sam is on the dock, Sam asked for help from Tommy and Carlos. Tommy Smith and John Carlos were the two Black Olympians in 1968 who were the track and field stars who had their fists raised and their heads bowed in support of the Black Panther movement and the Black Liberation Movement. So I thought that was a pretty cool nod to Black history, which is all over the episode this week. So I thought that was a really great thing that they put into the comics. And another really cute one I thought was when Sam was training again. He came back with his nephews and he said all day, which was a callback to Steve Rogers saying, I could do this all day. So I thought that that was further clue that what Sam might be getting ready to do. And finally, now we're not going to say what we think it is, but the final scene with Sam opening the box, and I was like, what's in the box? But I think I know what it is, but I don't want to know. I'm not going to look for it. I just want to see it when it happens and see what is in that box. It could be one of two things. And so I want to see next week what it is. So hopefully we will be able to well, I guess everything will be revealed next week. So that's what's gonna happen. But was there anything else that you guys might have picked up on that we might have missed about the episode, or your thoughts about it?
Well, Pam, I just want to clarify something because thank you, because that is such an iconic image. Those athletes, Mexico City. Were those gentlemen portraying themselves in name? Were those the actual athletes, or were they just referencing those names?
I think they were just referencing those names. I have to look at the at IMDb to see who those actors were, but it definitely was a callback. I think it was a callback because those two names are very specific. So I thought that was really fantastic what they have been doing throughout this series.
I just love the whole sense of community from that. I just thought it was amazing that Sam and his sister's family, their parents were so beloved and well known. People stopped what they were doing and came to help. And I love that. And you've seen that a lot in small town communities, and different churches and things. So, but yeah, that's that extra layer. If those were those athletes, and obviously the reference to the names that went over my head. That's amazing. I love to hear that. That's really cool.
Yeah, and so I'm really. I mean, I'm back. So thank you to our cameraman, executive producer, editor who helps out with all things technical. Oh, do we have a new person? We do. We have Baron Zemo has joined us. Hey, Baron Zemo.
Baron Zemo, all right.
Thanks for joining us. And we, I just think that with all the things that they put in, especially about Isaiah Bradley, I haven't seen a show be this intentional about really discussing issues around Black folks in America in a major show like this. It's just, you haven't seen it happen very much, and it's very welcome, and I'm glad they're doing so. So, another fantastic episode that we can't get enough of, which leads me to think the Baron Zemo asked if we've ever tried Turkish delights, and I've had the candy before. It's good.
Too white queen for me, man. I'm just saying, too white queen. I know I'm mixing things here again, with this, yeah. I was. The thing I can see them doing now. Remember, at the end of the Mandalorian, they decided to expand the Mandalorian into the book of the book of Fett, Boba, the book of Boba, or whatever it was. I can't remember. But they're obviously doing a spinoff. I kind of wonder if they're going to be doing a spinoff of this because in the books, there's a group called the Thunderbolts, where
Yeah.
they're kind of the Suicide Squad of the MCU, where they have Batroc, who is in this series right now. He's one of the members,
Oh.
and you've got some other bad guys that are, here we got, we got Captain America, fake Captain America, John Walker. You're gonna have him. You got a Super Soldier. You got Batroc, who's morally ambiguous. You got several other characters that they can bring out of some of these other properties that were, and bring them together and say, okay, we're gonna take you off the raft now, and we're gonna let you do your thing. But if you mess up, I'll kill you. Just kind of very, very Suicide Squad. But they'll have it should have Thunderbolt Ross running it, which was
oh yeah.
why they're called the Thunderbolts. Which
Betty's father, right?
From I was going to say she's the father. I think I'm trying to remember who played him. It was
William Hurt played
William Hurt.
That's
yes.
right.
Yeah.
So you got him to be the leader, kind of the running the show type of person. So I mean, I can see them doing a spinoff into that, because it's a really this is a really short series, six hours basically.
Yeah. Well, but do you think they'll do a second season? I mean, the ratings for this are through the roof.
Well, I don't know.
They said no. They've said
they say no?
They've said
I've
no.
heard no too. I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, the problem is you're going to have to. You got basically 2 A-list actors now, plus several other A-list ones that are in there too. Julie Louis-Dreyfus. You've got several. Coordinating schedules for people at that level is something I would never want to try to do. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but they're enough big enough paycheck. Coordinate the hell out of a schedule. Let me tell you.
Let me clear a couple months for you. We do that,
Yeah, and it's Marvel, and Disney. So, you don't get much bigger than that. So, you never know. Baron Zemo asked if David is a Zemo fan since you had the action figure.
Well, I'm not just a Zemo fan, Baron Zemo. I've got Sam.
Yeah.
I've got the bad John Walker.
Yeah.
Winter Soldier. This stands in for Sam's sister.
Yeah.
I have been able to customize the Great Warriors from Wakanda, but we've got her to stand in for that.
Oh, nice.
This is actually a McDonald's Happy Meal Kenyan Barbie. Actually, it's really beautifully well done.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, they actually did a series of those for figures for internationally. So you had her, you had Dutch, you had Japanese. So you had a few different ones there. And this was the evil senator who took away John Walker's pension, because that's just not right. Had to use somebody in the
and I was kind of thinking they should do like other countries do and just warehouse him, stick him in an office, cut his pay, and sit there, and you don't get to do anything. So
Pam, you and I have called that something in particular back in our days working in an office. I'm not going to use that name now. I'm dying to, because you brought that up.
You know how they do.
If it hadn't been caught on film, they probably would have just quietly done it. But again, this man gave his career. What he did was heinous. I'm not saying that it wasn't. Was in a war situation. Still no excuse. Let the man get the counseling. Stay with the benefits. That's huge. As a career military guy, my heart breaks there.
I'm not sure I agree. I think there are just some things you do. Now, let's compare and contrast. He lost his job and his benefits. Isaiah Bradley lost his life pretty much.
Well, he
was experimenting on everything else. So the difference between how one gets treated and another one, hey dude, you lost a job, go become a contractor, which I think he's about to do, and you'll be able to carry on. You didn't get your whole life erased. I don't feel sorry for him. He sat up there.
I don't feel bad for him either. The dude committed murder. The dude committed murder
Yeah.
on screen in front of the world, and to say that he should get off.
He murdered the wrong one.
Well, I won't disagree with that. Rules of engagement. So soldiers murder. War is murder. I'm just saying. It is.
I don't know. I don't know if I call that a war, or was that just vengeance for the death of his friend? So that is, I don't know about that, but we'll see.
War's heinous.
Yes.
And the fact, the difference between what's a legitimate target and not is with a stroke of a pen, and that really takes true morality to a hypocritical place. But when you mention Isaiah Bradley and taking his story 100%, because there's no doubt that's what happened, that is a heinous shame. He referenced what with the Red Tails and all of the veterans who served. But when you think about that, and again, now that's a comparison, kind of like when we saw, well, here were the insurrectionists and how they were treated January 6th versus other protesters. I see that. But what happened to Isaiah Bradley is unforgivable. It is part of that great original sin that America has, to treat him this way. Bad thing is, we've treated veterans and the poorest who've been, were conscripted, drafted, all of those folks. We've done a horrible job in taking care of our veterans. So that's why my heart to Isaiah Bradley, my heart to John Walker, for that same reason. They're both victims.
And there was something else about what Isaiah said. He said that they were the 332D unit. In the book, I believe in Truth, they killed with the serum testing 330, I think 330, 31 of the soldiers. Yeah. And so I thought I was like, ooh. So it's just so much in there that's just so delicious and so good and so poignant and heartbreaking and exciting. I mean, this episode had it all. So let's wrap it up so we can talk about our Oscar nominations. Any final words about the episode?
Too short.
Yeah, that's
too short.
That's the truth.
We need about 3 more really to wrap this up right.
I don't know how they're going to wrap it all up, but
I wonder if next week's going to be maybe a longer episode next week, maybe.
Yeah, it's got to be over an hour, I hope. So, okay. So let's now move into the Oscar portion of our show. We're going to talk about the screenplays, which is one of my favorite categories, because you always get something interesting, especially if you watch all of the movies. You get just some very interesting, different kind of movie. There's always one in there that you're surprised about, and it's just really just great. So this year, let's take a look at some of the movies. I'll do a quick synopsis, or trying to do one sentence synopsis of each movie. So let's start with the adapted screenplay category. Borat subsequent movie film is another. Borat comes to America with a young woman and hijinks ensue. Okay. The next is The Father, which is a man's struggle with dementia and its impact on those around him who love him. Next is Nomadland, and is the story of itinerant kind of people trying to survive in America after the Great Recession. One Night in Miami is kind of based on a true story about Cassius Clay after his title fight with Sonny Liston. Him, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown meet up afterwards, and they have a night together talking about a variety of different issues close to the heart of Black America at the time. Okay, The White Tiger is a rags to riches story of a young Indian man. Okay, so that is our adapted screenplay stories. I had a chance to look at all of them. And why don't you all talk about what you thought were your favorites and which one you think we're going to win and which one you want to win?
Well, I'll tell you, just for pure enjoyment, I and it's so cringy. I love Borat. I do. He just, it's so stupid, and it's not a lot of. I mean, it's light. It's so many movies that make it to the Academy Awards are so heavy. They're so serious. They're so deep. Borat was just fun. It was ridiculous. They got Rudy Giuliani untucking his pants. How did he get it there? I mean, super, super good. I mean, Sacha Baron Cohen is a genius for this stuff. I mean, really, he is. He's the new Andy Kaufman as far as being able to do this kind of craziness. Yeah. Who do I think is going to win?
Yeah.
Out of that group, it depends on when the voting occurred. It could go either one. I see it going one of two ways. It's either going to be One Night in Miami or Nomadland.
Huh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It just, it depends on how everybody felt about the issues at hand at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who knows? But those are the two I think were really well done. But I just love Borat. I'm sorry.
Well, you like what you like. David, what do you think?
Well, I tell you, it's some really impressive films.
Mm-hmm.
Like Patrick, we could say he's not John Walker now. We've switched genres here. I think Nomadland, it's really echoes The Grapes of Wrath to me, and there's a haunting aspect to me. This is a powerful story, and with all that's going on in this country, to see its beauty, but also to see the hardship and pain that people are going through, and the uncertainty of futures. It's a powerful film. I do expect this film to win. For me, movie that I love, Night Miami. I mean, this film with these iconic, powerful figures coming together. And, if you know anything about the fight when Cassius Clay and where he won and took his career to new heights, changed sports in so many ways. You know that these four got together. And I didn't, when I learned that a few years ago, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Because to me, the voice, the greatest, the most beautiful voice for singing ever, Sam Cooke. You talk about anybody in the world. I will listen to Sam Cooke all day. The Angels got an improvement when he left us, and he's up there singing, because it's their voices have it. So to have those powerful men who with in their sports, in their professions, they stood out above so many others, and they came together. It was amazing. And for anyone who ever had a chance to listen to Muhammad Ali before that, I listened when he died. Of course, he's from Louisville. We share a hometown. So this is, he's one of our native sons, our most famous. I listened to some of his radio interviews before the Sonny Liston fight. I heard him before the brutal effects of a career in this violent sport. You have no idea the intelligence and the thoughtful. Yeah, he was a poet and he talked trash. This was a genius man. And when you listen to him as a young man before he got those hits, it's like, wait a minute, this isn't just a trash talking athlete. This guy, man, he's something. And he interacted, he engaged with the radio audience back home, and it's amazing. So that movie's got a real special place in my heart with those four very heroic Americans. Nomadland, though, I think is going to win it. With the father, that's a powerful story too. But Nomadland is going to win.
And I agree with you, David. I really love. I just watched One Night in Miami today. It was the last one that I watched, and I wanted to save it because I was like, I really want to just savor it, a little bit. Man, I was not disappointed. It's a beautiful story, and also about friendship. These guys, in the movie, he says, we're the only four who knows what it's like to be us. And that was a lot for them to have to go through. It was a lot of pressure. It was heartbreaking to see the intros. Each of their intros in the movie was, some fun, but some heartbreaking. And just kind of set you up for the lives they led. And the discussion they had in that room was just deep and powerful. And I don't know the young man who played Malcolm X, but I look to see him in a lot more because he was fantastic in that. He did not get a nomination. Is confusing to me when you look at some of the other people who were nominated. I'm like, once I saw that, I was like, are you serious? This is amazing. Now, I also watched, and you can watch it on my channel, I did a discussion of The White Tiger, the book, and the movie, and I analyzed it. Now, this adaptation is a brilliant adaptation of that book, because that book to me was difficult to get through, and it's a satire. And so, you have to, and it's a lot of metaphors. So you really have to read between the lines of it. And it's a lot of description. It's excellent, but it's hard to get through. So what I ended up having to do is to watch the movie to understand the book. And I usually don't have to do that. But this book is incredible. I mean, it reminds you kind of The Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. It's in that kind of genre, that kind of vein. And so the movie is very interesting because it shows you a part of India. Most Americans, we think India, we think Taj Mahal, we think Bollywood, we think, butter chicken. We don't think about what's going on in the world's largest democracy. And so from the story, it's not very democratic. And people aren't living up to the ideals. I mean, it's incredible. And so this movie really is a brilliant, just to take that source material and to make a movie the way they did, it's just fantastic. So that's why I'm kind of torn between those two. I enjoyed them both for different reasons, but White Tiger kind of defined what an adaptation is. But I think Nomadland is probably going to win.
And for full disclosure, Pam, I got to tell you, I was a little disappointed with White Tiger because I assumed, just from the title, it had to be a prequel to Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh,
because if
God.
you know, that was one of you're shaking your head at one of the greatest movies. John Walker's father would agree with that.
I'm going to agree with David that it is an absolutely fabulous movie, and he is absolutely 100% right.
Oh, you two.
Damn,
I don't know. I've been friends with you two for all these years.
Oh my God, Big Trouble in China is a classic. I can't believe you don't love that movie.
No, sir. No. No.
David Lopan, the godfather of Little China, Mr. David Lopan. Oh, man. It's one of the great epics of all time.
It's all
We're gonna move right on past
in Little China.
Oh, producer, let's start the original screenplay. Please help us.
Wow.
So we have Judas and the Black Messiah, which is the story of the last days of Fred Hampton, the leader of the Chicago Black Panther Party. Next, we have Minari, which is a story of a Korean immigrant family trying to start a farming business in rural Arkansas in the 80s. Promising Young Woman is a story of a woman takes revenge against sexual predators. And The Sound of Metal, which is a story of a metal drummer finds that he is losing his hearing and his struggle to understand his new world around him. And then finally, we have The Trial of the Chicago 7, which is a famous trial of protesters in the freedom movement. Okay, so of these the original screenplays, what did you all feel was your favorite, and then which one do you think is going to win?
Well, I really, really like two of those.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Judas and the Black Messiah, and I really like Trial of Chicago 7. I mean, the Trial of Chicago 7 had a lot of star power, man. There's a lot of people, big names in there all over. And we just talked about Sacha Baron Cohen. He was in there playing it straight. He was not playing, a goofy character for a change. He was showing off some acting chops.
And he's nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
And I will tell you that his performance was really good. I mean, but just as far as the script is wonderful on both of those. I thought, they were both very approachable. They made what are essentially really some complex subjects very approachable. So I like both of those. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Trial of Chicago 7, just for the screenplay. I think movie wise, I think Judas and the Black Messiah was a little bit better. I mean, because there were some really powerful performances in that, but I think just the overall script, I just liked it a little bit better. It seemed to flow a little bit better. I don't know. That's my pick.
Okay, David, what do you think?
Many a year I will mock the movies that get nominated for the Oscars. Maybe I'm getting older, or maybe what's going on in life. I thought these were brilliant selections. I thought these were really wonderfully made movies. My top three there: Judas and the Black Messiah, Trial of Chicago 7, Promising Young Woman. My pick to win it will be Promising Young Woman. I think Hollywood flips up the birds to Harvey Weinstein, and they say the Me Too movement. I think that, and I thought it was an amazing performance by the star. Everyone was so good in that. Connie Britton with a powerful but negative role. The boyfriend who shows his feet of clay. All of this, I think, is powerful. My favorite of those three, Promising Young Woman's going to win. My favorite was The Trial of Chicago 7, because so much of that, because you've got two movies of history. A lot of the horrific things was in the transcript that actually went on in the trial. You saw American justice at its worst.
Yeah.
And to our audience, one of the things that I learned, two things I learned when I took some government leadership classes. One, if you are working for an authoritarian or fascist government, keep really crappy records, because that helps gum up the works. And my filing, I'm not saying that we're that, but we were under the Trump administration for 4 years, but I can't keep good records. So keep bad records. The other piece is, if you're not willing to go to jail for what you care about, you're not trying. And Chicago 7, Judas and the Black Messiah showed that. The one aspect of Judas and the Black Messiah, because that was an amazing film. There was a part of me that said, this is based on what happened, but there was a lot of there was some fictional things there that I'm thinking, was it real? It could have been real. Was it? What was, what was going down with Chicago 7 was because of the transcripts and so many, I feel like that, we can see just how egregious that trial was. And I mean, it's a light as to the travesties that can take place in a court, and horrific. But I thought those were brilliant, brilliant movies. And I was really moved in all three of them. Really incredible year for films.
Yeah, I mean, this year, the whole list of movies this year are really stellar. And there's a couple in there I'm kind of like, but for the most part, I understood. There's been some years I've been like, what is this mess doing? This is somebody with a campaign. But this year you didn't have a lot of that. I think they had to just stand on their own. So you got like the best of the best, I feel like. So for me, I'm torn again in this category between Judas and the Black Messiah and A Sound of Metal. I think that they are just interesting movies. Now, don't get me wrong, The Trial of the Chicago 7. I'm wondering if Aaron Sorkin, who's been around for a long time and is super famous, and it might be his time, and so they might give it to him for that because that's how they do sometimes. But I think the universe that The Trial of the Chicago 7 and Judas and the Black Messiah, they're taking place at the same time. And so I think that there is a thought of government and how bad a government can get. This is our government at its worst at these stages, and what they did, because they just flat out murdered Fred Hampton. And that's just what happened. And the I forget, Lakeith Stanfield's his character, it was a real man. He was only 17. So both of them had tragic stories, and he ended up committing suicide a day or so after his only interview about the subject. He committed suicide. So, that had weighed so heavily on him. So I think that them actually revealing these stories about what really happens when the government's at its worst is really powerful, and that people need to see. These are the reasons why we need to see these type of movies. Not to see, pretty people in costumes speaking in old English, blah, blah, blah. We need to have diverse stories that tell about what was our history so we never repeat it again. So, but that's how I kind of feel about Judas and the Black Messiah, because it was just such a wonderful story. And the two of the writers are the Lucas brothers, who are comedians. And so it was kind of like the Lucas brothers, they wrote this. It's kind of interesting. And Shaka King, and there's one more writer. And so it's a very diverse, this is probably one of the most diverse categories I've seen in Oscars for years. And so that's something to be very excited about. But The Sound of Metal, I mean, I haven't seen a story like this that has a character who's a drummer who loses his hearing, who's also an addict and has to try and survive without his gift, and what he can do to try and not become dependent on a person, but finally get independence. It was just a different, interesting, beautiful story that we need more of these kind of stories. And it was just, it took me by surprise because I was kind of like, oh, okay, let me just watch this. You know, it kind of blew me away when I watched it. And I love having that feeling about a movie. The other movies, you know, Promising Young Woman, we've seen kind of vengeance tales of, you know, women striking back at men who mistreat them. We kind of seen that before. Huh?
Fatal Attraction.
Fatal Attraction, you know, or that's been done before. And Minari, you know, I know people love it, but to me, it's kind of like flat soda pop. It's just, it's good, but it's not. It was just flat to me. It was just flat.
It was slow moving, so
I get it. The woman who plays the grandmother, I really hope she gets the award because she was amazing.
Well, the subject matter, it's about a farmer. You know, in real world, farming moves really slow. I mean, it takes. I mean, you know that. I mean, it fit everything I thought, and it was. I liked it a lot, but I could see how it could turn some people off because it was really slow, really subtle.
Yes.
There was no pyrotechnics at all in it, really. I mean, there was some pyrotechnics, but you know, don't give anything away. But you know, it was. I thought it was a really good movie. I don't think it was some of the other ones. Yes, but it was. I think it deserved to be in there. Yeah, definitely.
You just haven't grown enough crops in Arkansas.
Right.
You just haven't had that kind of level of appreciation for what goes into the soil and tilling that.
I mean,
I'm not talking about that too much.
I'm living in Kansas, so I knew you grew up there, Pam. So I mean,
we kind of know farming, but you know, not
well,
like I don't want to watch a movie. It was kind of almost like watching the U.S. Crop Report or something. I just.
Come on, that was a staple every morning. What are you talking about?
I don't want to watch it, but you know the performances were good, and I get it because this is a new story too. We haven't heard much about immigrant experiences in mid America. You know, usually you hear them in the big cities, but you haven't heard about them in Middle America. And this is kind of a semi-autobiographical tale of the director. So it's kind of his story coming up too. But I was like, nah. So I think maybe the Trial of the Chicago 7 might win simply because they probably want to recognize Aaron Sorkin. But my heart is with Judas and the Black Messiah, or you know, the Sound of Metal. I would be happy if either of those two win. But if one of the other ones win, I'll be like, there's some BS.
People really need to know the story of Fred Hampton. Whatever you think of his politics as a communist and I am a revolutionary, you have to know about his story, his contributions in terms of domestic policy, his commitment and sincerity, and his out and outright murder.
Right.
By the state. And that is something, if you love America and if you love liberty, it's one of those things to reconcile. It's a part of the truth you got to deal with and say, there's reasons why there's reasons why the struggle continues.
Yeah.
There's reasons why, if you say all lives matter, you're being dismissive.
Yeah.
So this is a powerful film for, I think, people to see.
Yeah. And I think that with these categories, I think that they're sending a message. And I think that, you know, they're more relevant and important to view today. Yep. But everybody has their own opinion, and we certainly got a lot of them here on PJamma Life. So we want to wrap them up because, you know, we're going to have a supersized episode next week because next week is the last week of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And it's our last Oscar review where we're going to talk about picture and best director. And so that will be the kind of the major categories. And then Sunday, April 25th, remember, is our is the Oscars. And so I might do a live kind of look at the Oscars. I don't know. I might. You'll have to come back and check us out on PJamma Life to see. Oh, before we go, I have popped in. Somebody popped in, Taryn Nelson. Hey, say hi to Taryn. She's a new viewer,
Hey.
but
Welcome.
glad to see her here. And but everybody, do we have any final thoughts before we sign off?
John Walker needs to learn to weld. That's it.
Well, I want to say, make sure that you are still wearing your mask, still washing your hands, still social distancing. If you can vaccinate, get vaccinated. And please remember, Black lives do matter. Stop killing Black people. All right. So next week, we will see you here on PJamma Life. Take care. See you next week.
Guys.
So long,
Bye.